Hey YouTube, it's Mal with Olympus Reptiles, and I've got my big whiteboard out today because I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant. So stick with me. This is not directed towards any person or anything. It's just directed to this vibe I've kind of seen out there. Let me get rid of that. I don't want that ringing. To this vibe I've seen out there in the world of the Facebooks and things like that when it comes to the ball python market. And we're going to talk about some things, and we're going to talk about what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, how we've set up our business, how we think is a good idea for you to set up your business. Again, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And why, damn flying mite, in this day and age, it's going to work better for you. So what have we been hearing? I have been hearing, one, ball python market, woo, market, I should have been a teacher. I could round the board and be really annoying. Is oversaturated. Been hearing that. That's been a complaint. Two, cost of food of rats going up. That's a complaint we've been hearing. Three, I've heard value of snakes going down. And I'll explain what I'm talking about there. And that's been the big three complaints that we've heard. So let's do this. Let's just start with this one. Get rid of those two. We'll come back to those guys, right? Yeah, that's supposed to be a good dry erase marker. This board's going to be fucked before I'm done. Ball python market oversaturated. Is that true? Kind of. Yeah, probably. So there's this cyclical thing that happens in the ball python world since I've been here. It's going to continue to happen. This part here has nothing to do with our market. It has nothing to do with the economy, has nothing to do with recession, has nothing to do with Donald Trump. It ain't got anything to do with Pelosi, nothing. This is just what happens, okay? Here's the problem. These make about the perfect reptile pet for a snake. People who want a snake, they don't want a big snake. They want a snake they can handle. They want a snake that's pretty. Bam! They want a snake with a good attitude. Bam! They make the best pet snake. For 95% of snake keepers out there, 95% of new keepers, it's what drives the market. So what tends to happen as people come in more and more, they get into ball pythons. They start to breed ball pythons. They start to keep ball pythons. And then you go to a show and you got, your 15 ball pythons you're selling, or 25, or whatever the hell you're selling, and you look around and every table has got ball pythons. All of them. Every single table. Or you go on Morph Market, if you prefer to do it online, and you look at the number of ball pythons available, and it's, 15, 20,000. Caleb, you got Morph Market. What's the current number of total ball pythons available on Morph Market? Can you check that for me off camera there? We're going to find out what's currently available for ball pythons on Morph Market. So is it oversaturated? To a point it is, okay? And this causes a problem. So what will happen when this goes through is two things. This will be a driving factor in prices falling, okay? I told you that was going to happen. I told you that a year and a half ago. And a lot of people said, never going to happen. I told you. So I told you once, and if you didn't listen to me then, maybe now it's time to at least listen to what I have to say. It doesn't mean you have to use it, but there's some honesty and truth that I'm going to give to you just based on my experience. It ain't going to be everybody's experience, it's just going to be mine. This will cause prices to start falling because there's just so many there. It's also going to cause breeders to bail. Now, they're going to bail in two ways. This is just a thing. We'll come back to that. How do breeders bail? Well, they do two things. One, they change direction, okay? I know a guy doing this right now. I'm not sure his exact motivation. I think from talking to him, it's mostly because he's going where his heart tells him to go. So you always have some people who are going to start with a lot of ball pythons, and then they're going to say, you know what, I want to pivot to another area, and they may change direction to an extent. That's normal. But you're going to see a lot more people doing that when there's so many ball pythons out there. They're going to go, I can't compete because this market is oversaturated. Therefore, I have got to go do something else. Let's go take a look at how blood pythons are doing, or carpets, or berms, or whatnot. But what tends to happen, I'll get to that in a minute, the other thing they do is they just do this. They just get out. Okay, they just get out. They're just like, you know what? I thought I'd get in here and be a millionaire in 24 months, and that ain't happening, and now it's hard, and now my rat cost is going up, and everybody told me this was going to be easier and made it look simple, and I thought I was smarter than everybody that told me it was going to be hard, and it takes time, and I realized I'm not smarter than everybody that told me that, and now I'm getting out, and here's my whole collection being dumped for sale. I love those people. God, I love you folks. You folks that do that, thank you, and I'll explain why I'm thanking you in a minute. For those that aren't doing that, have thought about doing that, I'm going to tell you to stop yourself because there is an exit. Did we get that number?
47,795.
47,795. That's currently available on Morph Market right now. How many carpet pythons? Yeah, let's play a game. Again, I didn't really have a direction when I started making this. I just said, yeah, let's kind of ramble and figure it out. That's how many are available right now, 47,795. We're going to check a few other species, and I'll show you why this happens. So they just get out, they sell everything, they bitch and moan, they hate life, they think they got screwed over, whatever happens, but they don't stay. There's a few reasons that happened. One, they did not listen to what people told them. Two, they thought they could outsmart the system. Or three, they listened to bad advice. There can be a fourth thing, and for those people, I'm not trying to be mean. Some people have a life-changing event. You know, they get another baby coming, they have a job loss, they have an injury that now makes where they can't do this. Maybe they just decided it wasn't for them, but not for financial reasons. So that happens. So some people are always getting out too. But when you have this going on, and this oversaturation, you're going to see more of these things, and it directly relates to prices falling. Because again, what is this not? This is not get rich quick. So this is getting rid, beyond the natural attrition of people getting out and the natural attrition of people changing directions. This is getting rid of the get rich quick. This happens in every business. Okay? I don't give a shit what it is. We can talk ball pythons. We can talk real estate. We can talk building. We can talk tech companies. We can talk all of that. Whenever the market hits a downturn, the get-rich-quick people go away. Because most people think they're going to get rich quick. The failure rate is super high. It just is. There's a few successful. There's enough success that you'll see it on social media, and it will drive you, and it'll drive that belief, and it'll drive that fury, but most of that fails out on get-rich-quick. So on every hobby business, this happens. It does. This is a constant in the universe that fails for most people. Most, not all, most. Find that carpet python?
358.
358. Damn. Wow. What about berms? Or retics, or whatever big other ones are out there? Give me something else. Corn, whatever. Give me another kind of snake. We're going to keep going with this point until I feel like I've really made it. So 47,795 to 358. Tell me it ain't oversaturated, right? So this is one of the problems, right? And it just kind of is. I mean, Kurt, anything you want to add to this part?
Nope.
Pretty on spot?
Yep.
Okay. We're going to leave that up there. We're going to try to clean this off. And we're going to cover number 2. What was number 2? I already forgot. All flustered and pissed and started going off. Oh, snake price is falling, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So number 2, we're going to say snake value going down. And some are going to say that's not happening. Some are going to say it is. I get it. Where this is coming from is I've seen people starting to have this game that I've seen online multiple times where it's like, hey, we have to hold our prices. Because if we don't hold our prices, prices are going to fall. And we just got to hold the line. That's never going to happen, okay? Put that idea of price fixing clear out of your head. Here's why. There's 47,795 ball pythons available online right now. 47,795. And again, this is not meant to be a video to discourage you. You just got to stick with me. I'm going to tell you how I'm going to encourage you because I am. So you're never going to get people to hold the line, so to speak, because somebody out there isn't going to hold the line because somebody out there has to pay their bills. Somebody out there has to buy rats. Somebody out there has, something that they've got to pay, and they can't sit on these snakes anymore. And if they have to undercut price to do it, they're going to do it. So that snake that was $1,000 gets undercut at a show to $900. Maybe we write sale on it. Customer says that's a new bottom end. So the next show, 4 of them are there. So then somebody goes to 800. Then somebody freaks out and says, oh my God, the sky is falling. And they drop it to 500 and sell a bunch of them, right? That's what happens, y'all. That's how it works. Boom, 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 boom. Another thing that happens and why you can't hold the line on that is, let's say, we're going to pick on one of my snakes right now, okay? We're working Hellfire. Let's say Hellfire turns out to be new, okay? Let's say we prove it out, it's brand new. Show you how this is going to work. We're going to say it's incomplete dominant for this purpose. So Hellfire, brand new gene, $5K. Why not? It's going to hold there for a few years. It's going to hold. Now that I've sold some and they're out there, somebody else is making them too. And maybe they're making a bunch. So now the market, how many are available, has probably gone up by a factor of 10 in 3 years. Once I start selling them, pretty easy, right? Because the females I've sold are going to be up to size. The males I've released now are being bred to multiple females. So that 5K is probably going to go down to, so I'm still going to ask 5K. Somebody's going to undercut me to go at 4. And then it's going to eventually be around, let's say, 3 in that span of time. Not 10 years, it's going to be a factor of 10. 3 is going to happen in a couple of years from the time we start selling them. A couple of years later, they're 1, if even that long, for combos. Right? That's where we're going to be at. And that's just how that shit trends down. Because when you go, you may start with 5 snakes on the planet for a new morph. Well, as those are bred out, when a guy finally decides to release them, he's usually going to be sitting on about 25 of them, right? He can then produce consistently every year, depending on the size of his operation. Some people may be much less. Some people may be 125. It just depends on which collection size you're working with. You're working with a guy with 10 snakes, you're working with a guy with my collection, or you're working with a guy with Nerd's collection or Brian Bartek's collection. It does make a vast difference how much that's going to produce. Well, that 25 then is going to be 400 in the market within a few days. Oh my God, that's more than what carpets are available right now. It just is going to push prices down. So that's going to happen on the high-end snakes regardless. This has nothing to do with our current market. This is just how the snake market works. This is how banana went from 20K to about 150 in the span of, how long, Kurt, you think? 10 years?
Less than 10 years.
Less than 10 years. So in less than 10 years, we went from 20K to 150 for a banana. And you're like, well, that's just us banana. That's how that goes. Man, there wasn't so long ago I could buy a clown all day long for $250. Okay. Pied at one point in time was $40K. Took a little longer to drop, but it's down. And again, this is recessive. It's going to hold better. It's about $300 to $350, where it's been for an eternity. And we can do this with every morph. The first pastels sold were, I think, sold around $15,000 or $20,000. The first pastels. Pastels are as hard to move as a normal anymore. They're like $75, right? To $100, depending on a few things. So, my point being, this is the natural thing that happens in the snake market. It doesn't have shit to do with the economy, okay? But there's other things at play here with that snake value going down that do have to do with the economy. Caleb, you find any other kinds of snake?
I did. I got 4 more.
Oh, goodness gracious. Let me erase and let's add those on there. I'm going to keep that up there for a little while. So I'll add that back on. So what else we got?
Retics, there's 1,446.
Okay. Okay.
Berms, there's 564.
Okay.
Boas, 4,373.
Okay.
Corn snakes, 2,750.
Wow. They fell from grace. Okay, so there you go. That's pretty much everything we need to cover, I think, on there. So if you... Wow, that was more dramatic than I anticipated, I'll be honest. So we'll go ahead and go back to snake value, going down. So, if you add, this one's about less than 10%. So 4, 5, 6, 7, just some quick math here. 8, we'll call about 9,000. There is, so if there's 57,800 snakes available total on Morph Market, oh, that'd be 56,795. Take that back. 47,795, those are ball pythons. that is, man, 9. We'll round up, call it 10. That is still like almost 5 to 1. We're almost 5 to 1. 5 ball pythons for every single snake that's a different kind of snake out there on there. So I say there's a lot of these going on, but that's okay. I'll explain in a minute. So snake value going down. What's causing that in today's economy? The oversaturation, okay? So what that means is people get pressure to sell, okay? You're feeling pressure to sell. I'm gonna tell you how not to have to do that, because you don't have to feel that pressure, okay? If you set shit up right, you'll never have that pressure, I promise you. Or it'll be a lot less. I shouldn't say you'll never have it. So we need to lower that to make you successful. I'm gonna tell you how we're gonna do that. So pressure to sell means that you're willing to take less money for your work. If your work, whether it's making a snake or digging a ditch in the ground, can be sold for $1,000, and that's what the market's going to bear, you're going to sell it for $1,000. But if you're advertising that for $1,000 and nobody's buying, what are you going to do? So people say, well, I'm just going to hold on to my principles, and I'm going to wait till I get paid what I'm worth. That sounds great in principle. When you get fucking hungry, though, you call me, and then you're going to take that $700 offered, right? Same thing's going to happen here. It's going to go down because you're doing more work to hold on to snakes that are costing you, if you hold on to a baby snake, play a little game here, say baby snake. Let's say that baby snake is worth $500 market value, okay? If you wanted to make quick money and you took it and you got it ready, I don't know what you have in that thing, but it ain't gonna matter for this, and you decided to sell it for $400 because you're undercutting the market and you get paid that day, bam. That's one person. So person A just made $400, right? Person B says, nope, I'm going to keep that snake and I'm going to get full value. Hold the line! Hold the line! Whether you're doing laser eyes for crypto, which by the way, Tom Brady took his laser eyes off, the last one to fall, I believe. Maybe it was because of Giselle, who I think is, I don't know. That's a long story. Just, here's the thing, guys. If your wife starts going to a whole lot of jiu-jitsu, pay attention. That's all I'm going to tell you. So $500. This person's going to hold it. And they're going to eventually sell this snake at $500. It's going to happen, okay? I'm not saying you can't hold it and make that sale. You can. Absolutely. So you're saying, well, why not do that? Well, let's say it takes you 6 months, okay? 6 months to do that, to get that $500. So 6 months, 4 weeks a month, that is 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. 24 months, right? Actually be a little longer. 24 weeks. 6 months, 24. Actually be a little longer because there's 52 weeks in a year. Or 54 weeks in a year. 52. So that's half a year. So let's take half of that, which would be 25, 26. Because some, actually, most, are over 28. So 26 weeks. That's what you're going to hold that for. And let's say out of that 26 weeks, you have to spend, what's the going rate? $3 a week to feed that right now. So it's going to cost you $3 plus your time, plus your effort, plus everything else. So 26 times 3, that's going to be 18, carry your 1. That's going to be 6, 7, it's going to be $78, right? That you spent feeding that. So that's going to take your profit down considerably. Get that down to 4, bam. I'm not very good at math, so I have to write all this crap up here. That's going to bring that at, well, it'll be here, right? It'll be 1. I'm going to get that down to, basically, if I took 78, yeah, 422. Thank you. I'm doing that all wrong. 422. That's why I'm not a math teacher. $422 is what your profit's going to be. So yeah, you did make $22 more in that scenario. If it costs you more for feed, sure. This doesn't include water cost, electricity cost, going to show cost, transport cost, all of that. Basically, what I'm getting at is you're making the same money as this person, right? So this person also could have just cut it to $450 instead of $400 and outsold you and made more money. A little bit more, but it's pretty close. So the advantage to holding that snake and getting more value really isn't there, y'all. It's really not there in this scenario. So people are going to do this. They're going to do it all day long. The bad part on the market is once somebody does this, and more people do it, that's a new baseline, right? So when it's oversaturated, like it is, this tends to happen. So how do we fix that? How do we make that profitable? Well, that's going to come up in the next slide. Anything you think of on snake value, pushing snake value down that I'm missing? I mean, it's just basically the sheer number of people, number of people, Oh, the economy. Let me get to that too because that's important. B is going to be the number of snakes. We had a huge influx of new people with COVID, which is great. All those people are now at production stage rather than buy stage. If they're not, they're fucking it up. But that's okay. They're still buying, but they're going to be producing and selling, which is what's causing 47,795, by the way. C, the fact we haven't talked about yet, is the economy. And that economy is going to affect you. It is. Let me explain. So I've heard of multiple companies, I think Amazon laying off 10,000 people. I believe Twitter laid off 50% of the workforce. Does that sound right, you guys? So 50% reduction at Twitter. Because Elon Musk is going to make money. He'll get rid of the fat. And this is just two companies. Everybody else, I know there's furloughs for FedEx. Going to make shipping fun, right? So as all these companies are doing that, and these are the ones we're hearing in the news, you're going to see more companies do the same thing. And what that's going to cause is all these people who had money coming in now have less, which means less money to buy those 47,795 ball pythons with, because our economy is going to get rougher. As people's bills go up and their income doesn't, you're also going to see them have less money to spend on snakes. So the economy is going to take a toll on what we do here. So how do you fight all this? The economy is also what's pushing rat prices up. So how do we fight all this? How do we fight all this? Well, let me show you. Got to get to the third thing first. And if you guys think I'm off at all, by you guys I mean Caleb and Kurt, feel free to speak up, because if I'm missing something in this unplanned rant, I'd love to hear it. So the next thing is, we're going to call it, instead of rat food going up, we're going to call it business costs going up. Because when business cost goes up, your profits goes down, right? If you can't raise the price of your snakes, which with 47,795 ball pythons out there, you can't really do very easy. Yet you're...
So can you just lay off people like everyone, like Amazon's doing?
You can if you have people. Like, could like large facilities possibly lay off somebody if they needed to? Sure they can. And then the boss man can go in there and do a little more of the grunt work. Caleb, be fired. No, I'm kidding. We can't. Like, we're not a big company. We can't do that. So, but yeah, some places actually probably could, but most of them can't. Most of these businesses, even your big ball python breeders, don't have 50 employees. Okay, they're not running on exorbitant amounts of people. Could they cut hours for their hourly workers? Sure. Are companies going to be maybe a little bit more wondering how much you're on your cell phone and actually doing the shit you're supposed to be doing? Probably. It's why I don't have employees. I'd be an ass. So business costs going up. What all is going up? Well, if you rent, that's going to go up, because landlords' costs are all going up. I promise you, I know a shit ton of landlords. They're going to recoup that money. Okay, if a landlord makes X, he's going to keep making X or more. And if his costs go up, your rent goes up the next year. It's kind of how that works. 2, I think supplies have gone up. Thanks, China boats and everything else. And 3, and this is a big one, is food. Rats. I've heard anywhere. We used to sell small rats for $5 a piece. And what is our current price now? 6? 7, maybe? I don't know. But I've heard of places doing smalls at $9. We're not there yet, thank God. But this is what happens. And so, like, if your food has gone up over the last 36 months, where it's almost doubled in cost, or gone up by 1/3 or 2/3, you're going to feel that in your profits, because your supplies are going up. Your cost of your animals can't go up, because you'll price yourself right on up and out of the market. That's why people are complaining and saying we have to hold the price line. Nobody can undercut a price, even though no matter how many times you say that, somebody's going to do it, because it's a free market, and that's what's going to set all this. So that goes up. That makes it very difficult. So it's just going to get more expensive. Now, how do you deal with all this? How do you stay afloat? How does this not suck? Well, it doesn't suck. This is awesome. A couple things that I would tell you to do Anything else you can think of in business costs going up first, Kurt? You do more business stuff than I do. Caleb, you too. Or is this kind of the main things we're seeing people complain about?
Well, it's just, so there's a couple ways you sell your snakes. You go to a show.
Yep.
Cost of shows are going up.
They
Tables
have.
are more expensive.
Yep.
Your gas is more expensive.
Absolutely. We'll just call it travel if you're doing shows.
And
Has
then
gone up.
If you're
Table cost. I don't think cost of Morph Market's gone up, but you know what has? Shipping. Oh my God. We're going to have to raise our shipping prices, y'all. I am going to do that the first of the year. My flat rate shipping, which has been, I think, 55 for a long time or something like that, is probably going to, I think it's been 50. It's going to take a jump up. You guys on Patreon, who are the $10 level that have the built-in $25 though guaranteed, I am going to leave yours the same. But everybody else, if you're at the $5 level and you don't want to pay that, now's the time to get up, because we're going to have to raise shipping cost. Because that is a cost that we incur, we're going to pass on. The cost to ship a snake now, when I first started, probably averaged about 55 bucks, right? Now, it's costing me about $70 to ship a snake on average. Some more, some less. And that is usually if I do a shipping quote. That shipping quote runs anywhere from $62 to $68. I've had a few in the 70s, depending on how far they're going. But then by the time you include your box, your heat pack, if you're using it, your bag, and your materials, it is up even harder. I mean, because you got to buy all that, it goes up even further. So shipping, that's a fucking huge one. And travel if you're doing shows. Online listing, that's one thing I'm not going to put on here because I don't think Morph Markets really raise their prices to list online. Facebook, if you word it right, still free. You know, those kind of things haven't really changed much. Anything else you guys can think of?
No, those were good ones.
So your business cost is going up. So how do we make this make sense? How do we make this profitable? Well, it's really simple. If this is crushing you because you didn't plan for it, the first thing I want you to do is the hardest part. You got to do the hardest part, okay? Hardest part is look yourself in the mirror and say, I planned like shit, and now I got to fix it. Because if you don't take ownership of what your situation is, you built your situation, it's on you. So it's time to take a hard look in the mirror and own that shit. We've all messed crap up. We've all put ourselves in hard spots. And if you're doing really good and you've already been doing a lot of that stuff, or if something else is working for you, great, man. That's awesome. But if you're not, you're on the precipice where you're thinking, man, I may have to get out of this, I may have to quit, and I really love it. I don't want you to have to do that. I'm going to tell you, first of all, take ownership. Because you have to figure out how to get that part right. So here's how I'm going to tell you to be successful. Rule number 1, okay, is going to be infrastructure. You have to build your infrastructure. I can't even spell it, so I'm just going to put infra and structure, so I don't make myself look more stupid than I already am. Sometimes as a kid, I just write like crap on purpose. My hand is so bad, I could just kind of like, and they wouldn't know if I misspelled something. So maybe my spelling would be really bad, but pretty crafty. So your infrastructure, right? What that means is, 1, you need to decide if you're going to buy rats, and if you're going to buy rats, the cost is going to go up. Suck it up and deal with it. I would recommend you don't plan on buying rats for a collection that gets to a certain size. You got to get that spot in your head, no, and you're going to need to breed rats. Whether you do that by yourself, with a partner, as part of a collective, like 4 of you doing it together and all taken from it, if you have some kind of arrangement, I don't care, but breed rats. This is going to cut your costs down. Now, Kurt has pointed out, and he's correct, so I'll put a little A in here, that rat food has gone up. I don't care. How many people do you know, if you're in this hobby, that need rats? All the time. So if you breed rats, don't breed what you need. If I needed 100 rats a week, okay, I'm going to breed 200 rats a week. Why? Why would I do such a crazy thing? Has me prepared for my babies. I guess I should say that equals, not plus. So it equals, which is a bad equal because it should be side to side. Just bear with me. The reason for that is if I'm overbreeding, that prepares me for when I have babies. It also allows me to take 100 of these rats when I don't need them and wholesale them off to people I know. I can do it in bulk. I can do it in a few select spots. If I got somebody who wants to come in and buy 1 or 2 rats, all I have to do to make my rat sales successful is undercut the local shop in my area. That's it, man. And I can reach out to a handful of people and say, hey, man, I got rats available. If you'd like to buy them from me, dude, I know you. I'll sell them to you for this. Right? They're going to come. They're going to buy rats from you. The local shop's going to be pissed. They'll get over it. The next thing you can do is you can sell chunks wholesale to people who breed rats or people who take and drive around and sell rats, whatever you want to do. The goal is to take these extra rats, which is an extra, so you're at a plus 100 right now, right? Even if you get, Kurt, to breed 200 rats a week, you know about how many breeders you're going to need to do that, about how much rat food I need a month to do that, roughly. How many bags in Missouri? Just ballpark it.
I don't know.
But 2 get me done?
I'd say, yeah, 3 or 4.
We'll go with 4. So they're $35 a bag right now, correct? Where we're at?
We buy them for 32.
32, we're going to make math simple, call it 35, get some tax in there. So that would be $140, and that was a month, we said, right? So I need to make $140 a month. That's what those rats are costing me to make. Now that is way cheaper than buying $5 to $6 a rat at 100. If I pay $4 a rat, if I pay $3 a rat at 100 rats, I'm spending $300 a week for rats. That's 3, 6, 9, 12. Or I can spend $140 a month. Well, by God, one looks better than the other, right? So I'm going to take this extra 100 rats a week, and now I know if I need to make $140 in rat food a month, plus I'll maybe want to build a new rack, if I even sold them for just $1, I'm going to have $400. I'm going to make a profit. So breed rats, overbreed rats, sell rats to your friends. That takes, one of those costs that was going up out of the equation, right? So now let's go down here. Well, we'll get rid of this in a minute. I'll talk about it, so we'll get there. So that's how we're going to do that. Number 2 is facility and growth plan. Don't go renting a huge ass place if you don't need it. Don't do it. If you can fit something in a room in your house, do it. The cheaper you can have your cost to be with your facility, the less money you have to make to be competitive and to put money in your pocket. For us, we have a lot of facility cost. But I've offset that facility cost by doing things like social media, and also I rent half of it out to Caleb. So my facility costs are way less than what they should be for a facility my size. We purchased our facility, so I looked at it like an investment. I'm not paying rent. My costs will never go up, other than maybe a little bit of raise in insurance and taxes. So that is something too, if you're looking at it, dual purpose it if you can. But if you can do it in your house, do. We did it for years. We did it for years in our own homes, and we still have things in our own homes because it lowers your overhead. And your overhead is what prevents you from being flexible in your pricing and what prevents you from making money. Your overhead will break you. Your overhead is out of your control too. If you're not breeding rats to lower your overhead, and you're not controlling your facility size to lower your overhead, and you're married to some place that can jack your rent up at will, or your rat food can, your rat supplier can raise your rat price at will, your overhead owns you. You don't own your overhead. And if you don't own your overhead, if you can't control that to some extent, you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball already. Don't do that. So facilities is another part of your infrastructure. 3, your racks. Pick what you want. Pick a plan on how you're going to grow. You don't need a whole room full of racks like this to start, unless you're just going to go hog wild and you have the money to do it. Do not take a loan to do this. Grow this at a time. Save up the money to buy your initial, and then I'll get to my rules for being successful in a minute. Don't go into debt buying racks and buying snakes. Again, that sounds great, and it works great when the economy is humming and everybody's getting a whole bunch of money per snake. But the minute there's a downturn and you got that loan you've got to pay on your very beginning breeding, it's going to really suck if you don't have a way to do that other than your snakes. So if you're going into debt and counting on your snakes to pay those bills before you have everything established, it's going to be real rough for you. Okay. So that would be the first thing that you can do to control some of that stuff. I'm running out of whiteboard. So that's going to be 1. So that takes care of our rats. So rat costs going up, right? We had that being a problem. Guess what? That ain't a problem anymore. We fixed it, right? We took care of that. So we talked about your overhead, controlling your facility price. Here's the kicker, okay? If somebody has a loan to pay, we're going to play a snake game again. We're going to call person A, has a loan to pay. They went hog wild. They've got to pay off a rack loan. They've got all these bills out there they still got to take care of. And they produce a snake that should go for $1,000. Okay? And they've also got a rent they're paying in the facility, all these things that they're counting on their snakes to pay with no other way to do it. All that overhead, that crippling overhead, right? So let's say out of that snake that they got to sell, out of that 1,000, 700 of it has to go to bills. Okay? 70% of what they've got is going to pay their, they don't have their rat costs, so it's paying rats, loan, just business cost, all those things, okay? All out of $1,000. That means there's only $300 profit, and there's only $300 wiggle room. So they can only eat up $300. Then they've got to move that pretty quick to keep that cost down, right? Because every week that rat cost goes up because they're not doing what we talked about with rat cost and deleting it. So by that, not a lot of wiggle room. Person B didn't take a loan, right? They didn't do all those things. They have a $1,000 snake. There's no rat cost, that's gone. No loan cost, that's gone. There is still a business cost. So let's say that $1,000, let's say it only cost them, say $200 to sell that snake. That's shipping, that's all those things. That means they make $800 profit. Woo! On a bad day, if they just get too much stuff and they want to move, they could cut this $1,000 snake to $700. Still cost them $200. They still make $500. If person A tries to do that, well, there's nothing. If they cut that $1,000 snake to $700, there's nothing left, right? They then make zero. It's a lot of work for not anything. So you have the pricing flexibility to weather good times and also weather bad times. You can weather when this is a problem. You can weather when the economy is a problem. You can do all of those things by controlling your overhead, not taking yourself into major loan debt, and also breeding your own damn rats. This is not rocket science. So if you do those things, like I'm telling you, then the only thing left for you is this. Don't be person A, be person B. So how do we get there? Well, there's a couple ways. One, if you want to start bigger, you don't want to start real slow. I get that. Kurt and I had to start slow because, well, neither one. Kurt, were you rich when we started this?
No.
Are you rich yet?
No.
What the fuck? We're doing it wrong. We're screwing this up. I wasn't rich either. And now I would say I'm rich in the people in my life. No, I'm not rich. From financially, I'm okay. I'm comfortable, but I'm not rich. You're not going to see me in Fortune 500. But because neither one of us really had a proverbial pot to piss in, and let me describe how bad it was so you guys understand what I'm talking about. So I can prove you can do this without a lot of money coming in. I lived in a house, freshly divorced, eating all the bills. Kurt was living in his shop that he worked at the time, right?
Yes.
So, also freshly divorced. Divorces suck. If you can avoid those, it's much better. Although the outcome in both of ours, I think, ended up being pretty good for us long term. So, in case our wives are watching this, or new ones. No, we're not ever divorcing the new ones. So anyway, that's where we were at. We didn't have extra money to go throw around, so we had to start very slow. We did things like we went from buying rats from the shop to buying rats in bulk, to sharing bulk orders with a neighbor who was also into the same thing to keep our shipping costs down, to producing our rats in pretty short order. Those are the things that happen. So we're preaching from our experience. So that's how we got our overhead under control. Now, rule number one for me, this is a big one. This is a hard one. And this one takes discipline. But by God, if you do it, you're going to be successful. If you follow the two rules I'll have, we already did rule one, would be overhead, right? Do everything you can to keep your overhead down. That's important. Overhead, debt. You don't want those things. They're bad. You're going to have some overhead. You're going to have some. It's unavoidable. But let's keep that down. Find ways to offset that through rat breeding and everything else. That'll make us successful. Number two, this is a big one. You ready for this one? It is not your money. Not your money. I want you to think about that. It's not your fucking money. I don't know how many times I got to tell people this. When you start doing this business, okay, and you get in those first few years, let's say you sell $4,000 in snakes, yo-yo. There's a big drive to take that $4,000, put it in your pocket, take the wife out on the town, whatever. This isn't yours. You didn't earn it, they did. Your snakes earned it. It's the snake's money. It's not your money. It's the snake's. So take that money, put it back in your business, okay? Always put it back in. And then after you're putting more and more back in, this is how you buy racks, snakes, equipment, right? And you might say, Matt, 4,000 ain't going to buy all that. Yeah, you're right. But that's one of the first years. Pretty soon it's going to be that, right? Because you put that money back in every year, so it starts to go up and up and up because you're increasing what you're doing because it's not your money. If you make that $4,000 your money, then you don't have any money for this, this, or this. It's coming out of your pocket or your other job now, which means you're not going to grow as fast as you want. So you have to be intentional. Not your money. It's your business's money. Number 3, when you get to a point where you followed these two, I want you to develop a safety valve, okay? What that means, and yours is going to be different than mine, and it's going to change over time. I want you to think about, okay, let's say all hell breaks loose, and I break my fucking leg, okay, or whatever, and I cannot work for 3 months. Like I can't go to a show, I'm not going to get stuff done online, we had a weird weather pattern, my incubator failed and fucked all my eggs, whatever it may be, you need to be planning for the ability to survive, honest to goodness, 12 months. That would be perfect. I'm going to be happy if you're set up for 3, okay? At least 3 months. I'll give you time to figure something out. So you need to have 3 months at minimum of expenses in the snake's bank account, because it's not your money, before you ever get paid. 3 months, okay? If you can't run your entire operation, including all your overhead and everything else, for at least 3 months, I don't want you to take a dime out of there, not to do any of this stuff. Once you can do that for 3 months, then you can start buying racks, you can start buying snakes, you can start buying that. Once you get to a point where you're pretty happy with where you're at, or you're producing enough that you're kind of able to buy that stuff through the year, well, go ahead and keep your budget intact. I think I've kind of played that one out. Then you can start getting paid, okay? That's when you can make money. It may take you, depending on how you start, how much you're able to invest at the beginning, a while to get there. It really may, and that's okay. Because let's say then, at the end of the year, let's say your safety valve is $3,000, okay? End of the year comes, whenever you want to close your business books. We have ours, we close usually about middle of the year, whenever we get around to it. Usually it's about tax season, because there's somebody else who wants some damn money at tax season. So we do pay our taxes. By the way, be a legit company, pay your damn taxes, at least most of them. So let's say that's what you want to keep in your safety valve. Let's say at the end of the year, you're going to close your books, and now you have $15,000 in there. All right. That means you take that out of there. That's leaving you $12,000. With that $12,000, we can do one of two things. One, this is a good time to look and say, hey, what do I want? You know, do I need another rack? Am I going to that point? Is there some jeans I want to add or whatever? And let's say there is, and you decide you're going to invest $6,000 into what you're doing. Now still leaves $6,000 here. Guess what? This is your money. You can keep this. You've earned it. Congratulations. And if you keep going through that, this will grow. I promise you. It will grow, it will grow, it will grow, it will grow. I guarantee it. But this is how you do it, folks. And if you're following that, what you end up with is now, to me, you know, as I see people saying, oh, we can't undercut prices, we can't do these things, I don't know how we're going to make it. My favorite was somebody said we should produce less. That's going to be the Patreon discussion. I'm going to talk to you on Patreon about, should we produce less snakes? Let me give you a quick answer. Fuck no! And I'll explain that on Patreon why that's the answer. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. We should all just produce less. Have fun with that. I'm not. You can go out of business. That's cool. I'm not going to do that. And I will explain my thought process. Kurt's hand's getting tired, so I got to give some of it for Patreon. So if you follow those things, and then if you sell a snake again for $1,000, it's great. If it falls and you sell it for $500, that's still good. Falls more, sell it for $100, you still made money. If you don't control those things, this is good, this is about breaking even, and this is you're losing your ass. So when you follow what I'm talking about, whether you get there fast because you've saved the money to invest in it, or whether you get there slow like Kurt and I had to do, if you follow it, then this number and what snakes are going for, or if the snake price tanks on a project you're working on, or whatever, doesn't matter, does it? I'm still going to make money. And I know I can undercut anybody I want and still make money. Now, do I want to undercut? Hell no, I'd much rather sell something for $1,000 than $500. But when I started checking my price for my next list, and a snake that last year was $700 is now $500, I was like, oh God, that hurts. I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. Okay, cool, no problem, boom. Glad I got 6 of them. Doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. I'm still going to make profit even if things drop. Just not as much. But I'll still make money, and I can produce more and still make more money. This doesn't affect me. Prices going down, it affects me, but not in the same way it affects somebody with a high overhead. Overhead low, and you'll be fine. Overhead low and not your money. Those two main rules. Kurt, anything you want to add to that before we wrap this up and go to Patreon and talk about why you shouldn't slow production?
No, just the best way is just slow and steady and just build it over time. And because I've ran a couple other businesses, and if you can, try not to take a paycheck and put as much back as you can into the business.
That's a fancy way of saying not your money, right? So I agree. Caleb, you actually majored in business. What up here is bullshit bunk. Well, I erased most of it, so if you weren't paying attention, you're screwed. He was over there fucking on his phone.
I was still listening. I can multitask.
Don't worry, ladies. He's swiping right for you. And dudes. It's whatever. You know. Hey, this is an accepting world now. It's okay, bro. It's okay.
No, I didn't think any of it was really bullshit. It was all pretty much... I mean, business in general is pretty much just be smart.
Yeah.
Be common sense.
Look, we all do dumb shit. I bought a brand new truck not that long ago. That's pretty dumb. God, I love that fucking Gladiator, though. It's awesome. But, it's a lot of overhead in my personal life that I didn't have to take on that I did. So this is not like a you're stupid, fault you video. I'm telling you that you can be successful. You don't have to be afraid of that. Now, when others are afraid of that, and on our next video, I'll share with you why this is going to make you an ass load of money. I'll just keep this whiteboard out for that. All right, anything else before we get off here?
Nope.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.